What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Waters, and welcome to Light to Metal. It's time for a rock metal update. That's right. It's time for rock metal update. This is going to be an all-metal update. This is actually going to be an artist spotlight as well. Really excited about this batch of records that I received, I purchased. Just recently, No Remorse Records in Greece re-released the first few albums from a German thrash metal band, Accuser. And I love Accuser. I have all their stuff on CD. And a matter of fact, I did do an Accuser Focus video on CD. Some part of that thrash metal A through Z series. I'll put a link up there. And yeah, you go ahead and check that out if you want to, because I'm not going to show their entire discography. I'm just going to show these albums that I received recently on vinyl. As soon as these came out, I was like, I gotta figure out a way to get these. So, being that I had no money at the time, I went ahead and sold some of my t-shirts on Facebook and raised the money real quick so that I could buy all these at one time, because the shipping from Greece was quite a bit of money. So this is what I have. These all finally came in the mail. Starting with their very first album called The Conviction. Now, Accuser are a thrash metal band formed in Germany, 1986, I believe. Might have been 85, somewhere in that area. Formed by three guys. Eberhard. How come when I start these videos I always forget things? Eberhard YL, vocals and bass. Frank Toms, who is the main member of Accuser and has been since the beginning, on guitars and vocals. He was not the lead vocalist on this early albums. It was Eberhard who was the vocalist. He became the vocalist later on in years. And then Volker Burk, I can't remember his last name. Barkert? Something like that. Actually, it's probably right back here. Yeah, there he is. Volker Barkert on drums. So those are the three guys that formed this band. They put out this very first album, hugely influenced by the U.S. Thrash metal scene. Big fans of, bands like Metallica and Megadeth. Sounds along the lines of bands like Paradox, who are also a German band. Not quite the rawness of early Creator and Destruction and Sodom. Those bands were really raw. By this time, which was 1987 or so, the band had taken on those bands had taken on a more refined sound, and Accuser were more refined as well. However, this recording is really raw. You can still hear that German, the Teutonic sound here that you wouldn't hear in a band like Megadeth or Metallica, even in those early years. The albums released on No Remorse this year were all released either in black or colored vinyl. I went for all black vinyl. I don't really care about colored vinyl that much. They're cool, but in this case, I just wanted to get all the black vinyls. So here's a picture of the band early on, and you can see two of the three guys here are wearing Megadeth shirts, so that should give you what your influences come from. Very raw, very roughly recorded. Originally released on Adam H Records, a very small label. On vinyl and CD, I have this original pressing of CD, not on vinyl, so I'm glad to finally get a copy on on vinyl. The cover's kind of cool. It kind of has that half man, half machine look. It was a movie that was popular in the 80s that everybody was into at the time that had the half man, half machine thing. Anyhow, that's kind of what's going on here. And this machine guy would become more prominent on the next few album covers. The band's eponymous, there you go, title track, Accuser, on the back here, is about 10.5 minutes long. Really progressive sound, especially coming from a thrash metal band for their first album. So very worth picking up right now while they're available, because I think there's only 300 of these pressed total worldwide, so they won't last for long. And I might as well show you the label real quick. Each one of these has their own custom label. And like I said, they're on black vinyl. And I've heard people say that they don't like some of the No Remorse pressing because they're noisy or they're not that well pressed. I'm not really hearing that on these. As a matter of fact, on a couple of these, they sound as good, and in one case, it sounds better than the CD. Alright, so that's their first album. Their second album was released in 1988. experimental errors. Now this album was really an EP. So, you know, some people say it's a full length, some people say it's an EP. It's an EP. I mean, it had, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs total, and one of them was an instrumental intro that was a minute and a half long, and one of them was an instrumental outro that was 30 seconds long, so, you know, you got 4 full-length songs, really. However, those songs were 6, and 8 minutes long, so it was a fairly long EP. And you see the creature that became their kind of mascot for a short while. I don't know if he had a name or not. But regardless, they also added another guitar player in here, one who became an integral part of the band for quite a while, René Schutz. There's no L in its name, I believe. Yeah, his name's not back here. René Schutz. Regardless, they're adding in that twin dual guitar sound. A lot of old school metal mixed into the thrash metal here, but still very raw, very roughly recorded. But slightly better recording than the first album. Slightly better album cover than the first album. No, not by much. This one too includes the insert with a band photo and some quotes by the band. 4-piece band now. Again, bass player is still handling the vocals. Eberhard. And each of these has this little kind of notes from the band that I thought were really cool. When our new guitarist, René Schutz, who was former bandmate of mine from Expect No Mercy, joined the band, we wanted to publish an EP that brought out the influences of all musicians. It turned out to be a really experimental and varied 6-track album, which also sets the stage for the following album. Fast and fundamental passages with 2-part leads and striking voice of Eberhard Weil characterize this EP. The influences of various bands, Megadeth, Voivod, Exodus, Slayer, and Testament, are obvious, and we're mixing into something new. So that's what you get. I love Accuser. I think they are one of the most underrated bands from the Teutonic thrash scene. Maybe they came along just a little too late, and that's why they're not considered, you know, in the same school as, you know, bands like Destruction and Sodom and Tankard and Creator and, you know, stuff like that. But to me, I think they fit right in there. Just a fantastic band. So anyhow, that was their second album. This is their third album, and this album is an absolute classic. One of my all-time favorites, and in fact, you're hearing the re-recorded version in the background. Should have grabbed that to show you, but I didn't. This is Who Dominates Who from 1989. Same exact lineup that played on the previous EP. And again, you get that same dual guitar leads, fast and furious sounds, machine gun riffing, the mixture of influences from the American and Canadian sound. You know, Voivod is one of their influences here for sure. But great stuff. And again, you get the machine there, the robot guy, mixing it up with I don't know, a dude. I'm not sure what's going on there. Who dominates who? Man or machine, right? And these guys are, you know, the lyrics were all over the place. You know, they, like a lot of thrash bands, it was politically based, religious based. You know, they had a lot of criticism of the church. Some of it rightly so. A little bit of everything. Talking about here about the, you know, the fight between man versus machine. So very cool stuff, and absolute classic album. If you're a thrash fan, this needs to be in your collection. Who Dominates Who? Again, No Remorse 2016 reissue, originally released in 1989. Again, it comes with an insert. Back cover. And if I can get it out of here, it would be awesome. There's the band. And again, there's some quotes on here from 1989. Accuser entered the studio again and recorded 7 songs. We named the album Who Dominates Who. The album's emphasis was the battle between man and machine, a vision of the future that has become real with our technological society. Social injustice and corruption are further topics that mark the golden thread of this album. It was now time to find matching artwork for the content. Jasper, I'm not even going to try to say that last name, created the cover which shows the battle on our planet. The label at the time, Adam H., was from Dusseldorf, whose logo has been designed by Voivod drummer Away, then published the album. Everyone involved, the specialist musicians, could hardly wait for the first reactions. And it's just a fantastic album. Like I said, the current lineup did re-record this album to give it a more modern sound. This one still has Eberhard on vocals. The new one has Frank Toms doing the vocals. So there you go. And again, custom centering. No Remorse label out of Greece. And this next one came in 1991, almost 2 years after the other one. This they had a lineup change here, but this album is fantastic. And I think this vinyl pressing of Double Talk is actually better than the original CD pressing. The original CD pressing is very low. The mastering was just terrible. They brought out some of the sounds here. You don't have to crank your stereo all the way up to hear everything, you know. Much improved artwork. Again, we get the Machine Guy. This one's heavily criticizing the U.S. here. There's a song on here called Flag Waver, which I've talked about before. Talking about, you know, the U.S. being a war machine. And again, it's talking about the U.S. government, not so much the U.S. people. And again, you get its cover, back cover. Always love that cover. Again, you get the insert somewhere. Get the band photo. And the lineup change on here, Renee left the band, so, and I wrote down the name of the guitarist because I knew I was going to forget his name, Milan Pichel, who ended up becoming a second guitar player on this album. Milan Pichel, yep, right there. However, Milan only lasted for this one album. He was out, and Frank was back, Renee was back in the band again. No notes here. After Renee had left the band, we quickly found new guitarist, Milan Pichel. We worked hard on new material, and then we were already a few complete songs with the time with Renee. Double Talk was even more complex than its predecessor, Who Dominates Who. Long and short songs, changes in tempo, unexpected breaks with instrumental parts created pure variation. The rather weak sound of the album faced a few critics, including myself, and it's not that, I really don't think it's the recording. I honestly thought it's the mastering. But Double Talk is special because the entire album was recorded live in the studio. It was almost a one-take recording, which was then provided with a few overdubs and obviously the vocals. A very puristic Accuser album, which deals with U.S. politics, the fall of the Berlin Wall, alcohol, and other topics. So there you go. This album, unlike all the other ones, also came with a little extra bonus. So here's your insert. Here's your, I dropped it. Here's your custom center ring. And then it came with a gigantic promotional poster, which I think the original also came with. And I will not be able to get this whole poster into the camera at one time, but so it's just a huge, huge poster of the cover art and the rest of their catalog down there, as well as the band photo. Very, very cool that they decided to repress that poster with it. Very nicely printed as well. So there you go. Again, more of the same. You know, more machine gun riffing, hooky songs. You know, one of the things I loved about thrash metal was it was fast, it was aggressive, it was heavy, but it was also hooks. It had those musical hooks and vocal hooks and stuff that it was memorable. You know, stuff you wanted to, you know, pound your fist to do and headbang to and sing along to and shout along to. That's what was great about, you know, thrash metal in general. And Accuser had all that stuff going for him. So let's see, next one, and this is actually the last one, although I am going to show one more after this. This album came in 1992. I saw the return of Renee, again, two guitars, the second guitar player, along with Frank. The name of the album was Repent. This album was really hard for me to get on CD. I did finally get a copy thanks to my buddy Olaf in Germany, who found me a Japanese pressing. But again, fantastic album. A little more heavy, a little more aggressive. If I'm not mistaken, the band was touring with a few death metal bands in 1991 for Double Talk, and that may have influenced them. A little more mechanical. I kept trying to think of words to describe it. It's just a little different, a little heavier, a little more in your face than what they were before, and I absolutely love it. The title track is brilliant. That song being 5 minutes long. Most of the songs on here between 4 and 6 minutes long. And then once again, you get the insert. And it says again, a No Remorse reissue from 2016, brand new. And so you get the return of Renee, who I believe is right there. And then there's Frank Toms. Oh look, Milan. That's right, I forgot. Milan took over bass. I'm sorry. Let's try this one more time. Milan became the bass player he was originally, the second guitar player on the album before, and so I guess we had lost Eberhard, I can't speak, Eberhard on bass and vocals. Milan took over the bass slot, and Frank took over lead vocals. And from this point on, Frank would remain the one constant in the band, and he would be the vocalist from here on out as well. Now his vocals are a little different than Eberhard's. He was more hardcore-ish. He had more of a shout to his style. Not metalcore, not even close. Very distinct. In fact, I don't know if you can hear in the background, but that's him singing back there. Don't know what else to say about this album except it's just fantastic. Let's see if it says anything on here. So the notes from Frank. Repent makes a huge change. It's an album whose style is completely different from its predecessor and be called very special up until today. One reason for this is a change of vocals. Eberhard left the band and I took over vocals. On the other hand, Renee was back and the guitars were tuned from E to D. So there you go. So that's part of the reason for that more modern sound that I was talking about. I felt a lot more comfortable with my vocals, and the album sounded much darker than the former albums with Eberhard on vocals. James Murphy of Death, Cancer, Testament had a huge influence on our new sound because we were on tour with Cancer before we started writing songs for Repent. Like I said, I knew they were on tour with a death metal band. During this time, we all commonly grappled with sounds and instruments. Repent developed into a mighty and dark album with aggressive vocals, which are sometimes reminiscent of early Sepultura. That's true, good comparison. In my opinion, the guitar sound is individual until today. So there you go. That's not the whole thing, but that's just part of what he says. Repent from 1992, fantastic album. So I'm glad to have all 5 of those. Like I said, those are all new to my collection, which is why this is a vinyl update. But I also wanted to show this one. This is the newest Accuser album from 2016 as well. Metal Blade Records. This one is available in the U.S. on CD for the first time in a long time. And this will make my top 20 lists for 2016 because this album is also fantastic. The only member left in the band from those early days, of course, like I said, is the one constant, Frank Toms, who's still guitarist and vocalist. The only guy who came, but they broke up for a while. Can't even remember what year it was they broke up. Then they got back together like a few years later. They had they went through a name change. Then they decided they were going to call themselves Accuser. They went back to the other name. Then they went back to Accuser again. And then they've been Accuser ever since. So 30 years of Accuser. This one is their 10th full-length album. Highly recommended. I've showed this one in other videos, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it, but highly recommend picking this up if you dig thrash, German thrash at all. So there you go. There's my vinyl updates, my Accuser focus, and a little bit of information about the band. Sorry about my stumbling over my own words. I'm not perfect, I'm just a fan. I've never said I was a professional. So anyhow, if you dug this video, thumbs up. Go ahead and leave a message below, and I will get back to you. And that's it. Talk to y'all later. God bless. Stay strong.